Hey Airsofters, so I got a little tip for you. If you guys have these cheap speed loaders, you've probably come to realize that they don't really work with Glock magazines. I apologize for the poor lighting. This has to be done in the kitchen, and my place isn't set up for YouTube. So anyways, you got this adapter here, right? And although it fits snugly on a Glock magazine, I don't see any way that it actually feeds. Actually, it's supposed to go this way, where this ramp it theoretically pushes the BB down, but it just never works. So here's one with the thing on, right? So you put it in, and it doesn't feed because there isn't the BB curve here. It just goes straight, and then the slide, pushes it forward. So this little adapter, if anyone knows what magazine is this for, because it fits pretty snug on a Glock, but it surely doesn't work. So what I've done is I've taken this stuff called polymorph, or heat moldable plastic. It comes in clear, but you can color it. I've colored this one black with some pigment, but it doesn't really matter what color you have anyways. It'd probably be better clear anyhow, so you can see the BBs going through it. But anyways, this stuff heats up with hot water and then becomes malleable, and you can mold it. And besides Airsoft, this is just good stuff to have around. Like, you can put it on anything, and also usually remove it from anything, so you can reuse it very often. So I've got two of these speed loaders already done. And so what's going on here, let me get, man, this light stinks. Alright, sorry, let me move it this way. So you'll notice the ramp mechanism is in this direction, right? Going to the nozzle. But if you put it on a Glock magazine, removing this, you usually have to do this, right? You have to take your finger, and then this is almost impossible to do with gloves. And then you gotta sit there and do this, right? It's a real pain. BBs always fall out and all that stuff. So my intention is to also hold this thing more vertical, so when the BBs feed, they stack properly. So if you're new to Airsoft, right, you have to hold it this way with your finger in the way, but you'll see the BBs feed. And if you do it too fast, you'll see there's a gap there, right? So the more vertical it is, I find that there's a better chance the BBs will land properly, so you don't have these gaps and less ammo. Well, then you got to take it apart and try to shake it and all that stuff. It's a real pain. So what I've done here with these two guys, see this one, is I put this polymorph stuff on here, and this gap is around 10 to 12 millimeters between the back of the opening and the hook part. So you can see I can hook that little part with this plastic. It has to be thin enough to fit into the groove. And then you'll see the ramp is in the opposite direction. So I can hold it like this, right, more vertically. And the BBs tend to feed a little bit better. Not 100% perfect, but better. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you how to do today with this polymorph. Put this plastic on there, and then if you can trim it down. You don't have to be 100% perfect. You can see this one, I trimmed it down, sanded it down. But let me show you again. So I'm just going to grab that slide thing here with that hook I molded on, and then I'm pressing it down. I'm holding it more vertical. And the more vertical it is, the better chance I'm stacking properly. Right? So I also mark where the thing ends. I missed one. Alright. Not perfect again, but better than usual. Alright, so you get the gist of it. You can figure it out on your own, but I'll just show you how I do it. So I've got this black polymorph just sitting here. This is a silicone cup. I think it's a popcorn popper cup. It was really cheap on AliExpress. But I like it because nothing really wants to stick to silicone. So once this solidifies, I can pull all this plastic out. So anyways, I've got some hot water here. And let's pour it in. Naturally, the thinner the plastic is, the quicker it's gonna become malleable. Also, I'm gonna heat up this water a little bit more. Okay. So another thing you may or may not want is something to fill up this gap right here. Well, I gotta push this BB down. That way you can slap on this hot plastic very sloppy, but the hole will always be open. If you're really careful, you don't need to do this. And even if you do get some in there, you could take a hobby knife and just cut it out, which I may have done on this one. One very, very important part about making this work is this opening right here. You cannot cover this opening because if you watch me push, that plastic mechanism should, there you go, it moves in there. Without that movement, the BB can't get past the plastic actuator, so it can't come out basically. So what you should do is tape over this. So I just have some hobby tape, but any tape will do. So let's clip some of this off here, pop it on, and make sure it goes over that slot area. Okay, so no plastic is going to get into that thing. And I'm going to do the red one as well. Keep all my red tracer BBs in this one and all the greens in the other. Get rid of this thing. Alright, cover that slot up. Okay. Now one other thing to try to note is the thinness of this plastic bit here. And let's get the ruler out. Millimeter wise, it's like, I don't know, probably 4 millimeters there. Yeah, I would shoot for around 4 millimeters wide. And then again, the back edge here is maybe 10 millimeters between the back edge here and the back edge of the circle. So on this one it's a little bit longer, but it doesn't seem to matter. This is more like 12 millimeters. And you have to have that spacing, because if you don't, the actual ramp right there, if it's too close, the ball doesn't have the distance to drop into the groove. So really the ball wants to drop in right here, because that's the bottom of the magazine. If it drops in right here, it can't drop in. So that's why. I guess you could just take your follower and measure that distance. And yes, if you see the beginning of that ramp, it's around 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters. So that's the magic spot, it seems. You could probably get away with 9 millimeters. Okay. So back to putting this plastic stuff on. I've covered up the little hinge mechanism there. I'm going to fill this in because I'm probably going to be sloppy doing this. And I'm basically going to try to wrap the whole thing, because if it's just a little bit, it's going to fall off. I'm actually counting on that screw, the plastic, to get into that screw head so it doesn't want to fall off this direction. That's why you'll see I put so much plastic on the other ones. Okay, I also have a glass of ice water here. And the reason why is this plastic stuff, it retains heat pretty well. Here you can see it only took a few minutes. It heats up really quick. You can also use a lighter, but I find that it doesn't work as consistently. Okay, so this water is piping hot, so I'm going to dump it out now. Okay, and now let's just grab this. Well, pleasantly, the stuff doesn't want to stick to your hand, so that's good. You can also wet your hands to have it even better, so you can see how goopy it is. And so right now it's just one consistent piece of plastic, just all melted and goopy. Alright, so now I'm going to just plop it on here, go around the back side, come around the front side, so it's reinforcing that whole nozzle tip. Alright, so there we go. And then I'm going to start tapering this back section here. Okay, so looking at the top, want it kind of narrow. Alright, if I want to save time, I realize now I put too much plastic on, so maybe I want to push that down a little bit. But it still has to be kind of narrow because I need to get into that groove. So that actually might work right now. Yeah. Or I might have to just take some clippers after the fact and trim some off. In fact, actually, let me compare to this. That's not too far off. So not bad, actually. Now the thing is, this is still really goopy. So if you could either put this in your freezer vertically, or, assuming I don't hit that ice cube, just dump it in some cold water, and that stuff will start to cool off and become less malleable. Probably want to leave it in there for a minute or something. I don't want to touch the edges or anything like that because it still might be malleable. Yeah, it's definitely getting hotter. I mean, not hotter, colder and harder. So you'll see the top of the green plastic ring is still there, and that's fine. I want to kind of leave it that way. Alright, I'm going to get the other one going while that cools off. Okay, let's grab some plastic again. So you'll see I grabbed around that much. That's maybe like a, I don't know, like a peanut M&M or something worth. And then for me, I want to use this thing because I'm going to be sloppy and I'm doing this on camera. It's not easy. I want to wrap a little bit around the front and then wrap around the side. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, again, it's being trapped by that screw. It's not going to want to fall off this plastic very easily. You can also help form with a wet piece of something or another. But you usually don't want to use plastic because this might bond to it. So, okay, still malleable. Just getting that form up there nice and thin. And looking at my ruler again. It's a little too far actually. That's about 10. And it looks pretty thin. That actually might work fine. So now you can add another layer on top of it, but I find it doesn't create as strong of a bond. I find the best way to do it is to use one big chunk of plastic and put it on, and then you remove material after the fact instead of adding thin layers. So let's let that cool off now and come back to this. So maybe this one's actually done. Let's see. So again, you gotta get used to holding it backwards. So the ramp is by your 4 fingers here. And I'm gonna try to grab the hook with this. Yeah, alright. It does work, but it's not perfect. I feel like, well, actually it did work. Poor feeding though. I should have been slower feeding. I also find, depending on the angle, right now, you'll see there's a little gap in the front. So the BB, as I push it out, see? Sometimes it'll fall out and not go into the magazine. So what I've done, like on these other ones, is I took a notch out of the actual plastic. Sorry for the focus. I can't hold these two things and hit the focus. By taking that notch out, you'll see there's no way that BB is not going to go into the magazine. So that I just used like a hand file. There we go. I just used a hand file and took a notch out. You'll notice this is actually coming out downwards, and the reason why it's coming out downwards is it wants to grab this, this piece here. I don't know what you'd really call that. So you're kind of mimicking the fingernail by just grabbing that, pushing down, and then once it gets back here, the slot gets bigger, and then you can push more of it down. Around that, oh, no, still messed up. Yeah, still messed up. Alright. Okay, well hopefully you get the gist of it, right? It's not that hard. Also, if you do mess up, you could just take some pliers and just pry it off. Even though this is plastic, I found that whatever the plastic this is, it's not the same chemical composition as this plastic. So the only thing really holding this on is surface suction and the fact that it's actually molded inside of that screw head right now. Let's try this one. Let me get a magazine. Alright, let's see if this one worked on the first attempt. So try to jam this in, grab the finger thing, move back. I still messed up. I might be holding it not completely vertical, but definitely got most of the BBs in there. Sometimes you might want to, go back, and if you do mold this too long, you could just take clippers. You can actually see the plastic is kind of soft. See, it kind of it already dented it a little bit. But you could shape it easily with clippers or a file or a sanding Dremel kind of thing. Yeah, see, this one I just trimmed off with the clippers to get a nice sharp edge to try to grab the actual follower there in the initial section. Where's the other one? Yeah, this one as well. It's got a really sharp, actually a negative edge even. So in fact, let me do that to this red one. I'm going to try to put a negative grabbing hook there and there. It's kind of like a nylon plastic. It has that, I don't know how you describe it perfectly. It's not brittle, it's kind of like chewy, I guess that would be the best way to describe it. Alright, so now I have a negative hook to hopefully grab that thing. Also, you'll see here there's a bump there for no reason, so I'll trim that out. Okay, so let's see if I can do this better. Yeah, it grabs it better, the initial part. Try to hold this mag vertically. Why is it jammed up? I feel like the distance is too close. It did work, but... Alright, so that one did... Well, I missed the first one. I feel like, in this case, if you look where it's touching this, and then the BBs are coming out there, I should actually space this one further back, because I think the BBs are hitting that ramp right there and not dropping in so easily. So another way to, hold on, I'll get a lighter. Alright, so again, I don't like adding material to the cold plastic, it'll just probably fall off. So I'd rather actually melt this and reform it, although there's not much plastic there. It's also way off, I didn't center it. That also might be why I didn't feed properly. Alright, anyways, here's a butane lighter. Be careful not to actually burn the red plastic of your loader. So I'm going to wet my fingers a little bit, and basically I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. That noise is my new kitten going crazy, being a nocturnal animal. It's like midnight right now. Alright, so I added some more length to it. In fact, going back to this thing, yeah, that's actually a better distance, at least on this magazine. But it might actually not be good on other magazines. I have different brands here. Here's an AAP magazine. I have to cool it off first. Hold on, I get in the ice water so that plastic will solidify. Here's a double bell magazine. Let's compare the grooves of these magazines. This is an Army Armament magazine, and this one already is a WE magazine. So let's take a look at these mags. where is the actual wide channel? There. Actually, they're all relatively identical. It might be hard for you to pick up, but the general width, the wider part of the gap, here, they're actually relatively the same. So, okay. Alright, I think that's solidified enough. And now it's a little bit more centered with the hole there. So let's see if it works better. Grab the follower. Not sure if there should be one more BB in there or not. I don't know. I'm not sure if one more BB can fit in there. No, didn't feed properly, so that's too bad. That's not really the fault of this modification. It's a fault of me not holding it perfectly or tilting it between each BB. Alright. Okay, so you can see at least not many BBs are falling out to the side. They're actually getting into the magazine. Alright, well hopefully I showed you enough to use this stuff. It's called polymorph plastic. I got this stuff off AliExpress, but I'm pretty sure eBay, Amazon, all that stuff. Polymorph being one word. You also might just want to look up like heat moldable plastic, and they look like little grains of rice, and then you melt them all together. So this used to be a bunch of little pebbles of this plastic. I think they do that so it melts even faster than a giant block like this. And then again, by this time, this black stuff has cooled off because there's no hot water in there. And I recommend a silicone cup. If you use a steel cup, it's going to stick to the steel. I used like a cooking pot once, and it was really hard to remove it from the stainless steel. Glass might work as well, because glass is a relatively smooth surface. But the beauty of the silicone is you can flex it off, right? Whereas a hard object, it's going to be hard to get this stuff off of it. So again, AliExpress popcorn cup. Thank you for watching today, and I'll see you in the next Airsoft related video.